Hi everyone, I'm James from the Freemasons and we're here to check out the new Roland System-1 part of the AIRA collection. Now everyone's seeing a kind of return to hardware in production at the moment. Analog synths are becoming more and more popular. Roland have gone a very different course. Now let's be honest, they're renowned for making some classics in the analog world, but they're actually creating digital recreations of their original hardware. So what we have here is a virtual analog synth that is running a thing called ACB, analog circuit behavior. It's the same technology used in their recent TR8 drum machine, and it sounds fantastic. So out of the box, it comes with its own personality, the System-1, which is a dual oscillator, virtual analog synth, beautiful filter, some great modulation options. But most excitingly about this entire idea is that it has another button here which runs what's known as a plug out. So obviously, what is a plug out? Well, it's effectively Roland's method of emulating their original hardware of things like the SH-101, and forthcoming we'll see the ProMars and a couple of other bits and pieces, and hopefully the old System-100 as well. Running emulations, but allowing you to use those emulations as plugins within your DAW, and also to be able to send the information to this box and take this box out and play live DJ with it, whatever you want, with those sounds on there. But the crucial thing to this obviously is what does it actually sound like. So I'm just going to quickly take you through the basics of the synth. There's an awful lot of information on this online if you really want to delve in. But if we go back to the System-1 mode, and I've just set up a very blank patch here just to show you the basic sound. So we're just going to start with the saw wave on one oscillator. Oscillator 1 also has a sub as well, which I can just kind of dial in a little bit here. You can select the octave of the sub, drop it down even further. There's a noise oscillator. And now we're bringing the second oscillator. Now it's all pretty standard stuff, but I hope you can hear, even from the kind of raw power of this, that this kind of has something a little bit special. There are some basic effects attached. You've got some reverb, and a delay with a short time control. So all fairly standard stuff so far, but what kind of sets this apart is the modulation and the power of the actual filter. So to do that, I'm just going to start a short arpeggiator running, and we'll just kind of muck about, and I'll start to use some of the functions like the ring modulator, the LFO in quite high, really fast LFO affecting some of the filter and some of the pitch controls, just so you can see how this thing starts to bite. So let's just set up a bit of a plucky sound. So what we've got set up here is the brand new System-1 in plug-out mode, and it's running the SH-101 emulation and an original SH-101 that's linked through with a Kenton MIDI box into Ableton Live. So what I want to show you is just how close they've got the emulation. So just to show you, this is the sound that we've got playing a bass line on the System-1. And this is our original SH-101 playing the same kind of sound. And we were amazed when we actually started playing with it just how close the two were. So I'm just going to connect up the gate and CV quickly. And I've got a small bass line on the track that we've got here. And let me just put this in the right place actually. And what I'm going to do is play the System-1 for the first kind of going around of the bass line, or the first rotation of the bass line, and then the SH-101 will take over on the second. Just not into place. So by itself first, and then with drums. So that's just by itself. Here it is in the track. Now we've done blind A/B tests in here just while the guys were setting up as well, and no one can quite work out which one's actually which. Which means, to be honest, as far as I'm concerned, because there are always a few problems with having an analog synth involved in any production, namely tuning, stability and all that kind of thing, it's that accurate, and I'm sure you can hear and sure you agree that you can't really tell the difference between the two. No one can really tell which one's playing. We might as well just get rid of this, and I'll show you how I'm using the System-1 and why its workflow is a lot easier when you're actually building stuff up. Okay, so one of the best things about using a plug-out synthesizer with this actual hardware controller is that you're not restricted by it having to come from, the sounds actually come from the unit, as we were with the when it was running in System-1 mode. This now just effectively becomes a MIDI controller, and all of the audio processing is handled with inside the computer. Any sounds that you do make, you can send back to the hardware model, or this hardware unit, sorry, and then take it out either on the road or DJing, whatever you want to do. But most importantly, it's actually running the SH-101 emulation as a plugin. Now, one thing I would like to say here, if basically this is running the similar kind of system that a Mac is running, I'd love to see Roland develop a actual System-1 plugin as well, because as we saw, some of the features in this System-1's basic sound are stunning, and would be particularly useful to have it in the same kind of environment here. But let me just play you through a house track that we've kind of knocked together within a couple of hours using various instances of the SH-101. I'll talk you through all the bits in a minute. Take you through now some of the component parts of the track. The first one is this kind of almost classic SH-101 bass sound. It's made from the classic pulse waveform that makes the kind of dual function of the oscillator up, and it's really just the square wave with a tiny little bit of sub on there. But I just want to show you the kind of response you get from this in Ableton. You can see the frequency response there, but normally within plugins you're having to pull a ridiculous amount of sub off, because these things are generating almost theoretical amounts of bass, which can just be too much for everything to handle. This is one of the first plugins that I've seen come in and actually have the almost apparent warmth of a analog synthesizer without kind of getting in the way. All of the bass information all seems to be in the right place, as opposed to pushed down into the bottom octave. So that's been a complete result and an absolute joy to work with. So for me, building a track up around a synth like that has just been heavenly this afternoon. Now cheekily I've just got a bit of System-1 in there, but you can hear the kind of modern tones that you can get out of this as well. And a beautiful way that they live together. find a lot of plugins can be actually quite difficult to gel together when you've got multiples of them, but as you can see here, I think Roland's analog modelling technology is really helping out getting everything right. But the biggest fun for me this afternoon was when we worked out or tried to do something with chords, and I've got this part here. And of course the 101 is a mono plugin, so what we've done just in Ableton, and just to show you also how little of the processor each one of the 101 is taking up, I've layered 3 SH-101s together and then used Ableton's pitch MIDI plugin to actually change the notes to turn it into a kind of minor chord. And we've got some filtering and effects on there. There's the original sound. So it shows you that it's not taking a massive processor hit. My computer's only just kind of idling at about 24-25%. But also you can stack these up and it doesn't start to sound thin. And if you like your kind of slow, moody, Reese type basses as well, what's great with the 101s being quite a system that's actually modelling analog behaviour. If you put 2 101s together, as I have done here, in other words on the same channel in parallel, and pan 1 left and pan 1 right, you get an awful lot of movement. It's some plugins you'll find they'll kind of re-trigger and everything will start getting a little bit phasey in the middle. But this sounds nice and fat straight up. So it's almost like having just a perfect 101 plugin, but with all the controls that you'd expect from a piece of hardware as well. So let me just go back to the main bass sound and I'll show you how quickly we can start mucking this about. So all quite random. You can see you just literally grab it and it just responds in the way that you thought it would. I've got to say I think they've done a fantastic job, and I'm going to be looking forward to using this in the coming weeks as part of our workflow. So top job, Roland. As I say, with the hardware, there's just a couple of things that maybe we can hopefully see in system updates. I'd love to see a plug-out version of the System-1 available in this within a sequencer, so that I don't have to keep on rewiring this and kind of connecting it all back up in an analog form. But in general, brilliant.